Hey, GW here. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to my man JM. JM commented on my last video and said that basically he was glad I stood up for myself. And sometimes in life, that's what you have to do. You have to not wait for anybody to help you. You got to get up and you have to do things on your own and stand up for yourself. With that being said, sorry, I just drank Mountain Dew. Oh, there we go. With that being set aside here, I told you we would be reviewing Darkman 2 and 3. Well, just watched number 2. And a little bit of trivia for this movie. This movie went right to video, guys. But this was the only DVD or Blu-ray that I had seen a commercial for a major blockbuster movie, because the first one apparently was a big box office hit and it went right to video. The second one went right to video, and it actually, trailers started showing up for this movie for Darkman fans, believe it or not, on the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Street Fighter. So if you rented Street Fighter, you saw this this basic, trailer for Darkman 2. And I had never seen that before, guys. Just never seen that. Because usually when a big movie hits big at the blockbuster, what do? You release the second one in the theater. This one, not the case. Not the case at all. And it's weird. It was very weird, and I think one of the reasons it went right to video is because Liam Neeson, who was in the first one, who played Dr. Peyton Westlake, as well as Darkman, for some reason didn't want to do it. And they, Universal scrambled, and they picked Arnold Vosloo. And for those of you guys who don't know him, he was the mummy in the Mummy movies opposite Brendan Fraser. So this, you could say this was released in 95. And long ways away from the Mummy. So Vosloo actually had a cameo in the movie Hard Target. He played a hard-edged mercenary, I think one of the last ones to be taken out by Van Damme. So he did have some sort of a star appeal there. But no one else, other than Larry Drake, reprised their role for this. Larry Drake actually came back as the evil Dr. Durant. But no one else. And it was crazy. So the cast is, the first and foremost, obviously, is the most well-known, is Larry Drake playing Robert G. Durant. Darkman Peyton Westlake, we already addressed, is played by Arnold Vosloo. Jill Randall her character was a news reporter. And she was played by Kim Delaney. Kim Delaney has went on to become pretty successful. I think she was an actress on LA Law. I'm not sure. Do not quote me, or Law and Order, one of those shows. Don't quote me on it, but I think I've seen her name. The other female lead's played by Laurie Brinkman. The other female lead, Laurie Brinkman, is played by Renee O'Connor. Dr. Alfred Hathaway is played by Lawrence Dane. And Dr. David Brinkman is played by Jesse Collins. Now, this story is your typical, straight-to-video, direct fare. Actually quite good, to be honest with you. First of all, if you like the character, the transition from, let me rephrase that. The transition from, script to screen, you're going to see that there is comic book elements all through it, just like there was in the first one. Another thing that's a step up in this film is that basically there are no green screens, no cheap shots, no sort of, hokey, gimmicky photography. This was based on the creators by Sam Raimi, but it was directed by Bradford May. I don't know if this dude did anything else, But he did a pretty good job. Basically, in this film, Robert Durant comes back. This film takes place 800 and some odd days, couple hours, and 17 seconds after the original. And that's key in the story because that's how long Robert G. Durant's character, or Larry Drake's character, has been in a coma. Comes out and he resumes his old ways. And what's the first thing he does? He wants to get back into the gun business. Now, apparently in the first movie, I'll have to rewatch it, all you knew about Robert Durant was he was a sleazy dude, you know, and he was very underworldish in his activities. And he still keeps up in this film. You'll see he still cuts fingers off of corpses, you know, to take as souvenirs. But he wants to get back in the gun trade. In doing so, it's almost a rehash of the first movie because he needs a factory. And the factory is being occupied by Dr. David Brinkman. So, Durant tries to buy the building. No go. Then they muscle him and just do basically the same thing they did in the first movie, except for the fact that they actually end up killing Dr. David Brinkman. Don't drink Mountain Dew in the morning, guys. I'm telling you, you should burp all day long. So anyway, in the meantime, Dr. Peyton Westlake is fighting crime, and he's just, you know, just an over-top good guy, superhero dude, still working on the formula to keep his skin lasting from longer than 99 minutes. Before Dr. David Brinkman's untimely demise, he meets Dr. Peyton Westlake. They trade secrets, and they're going to go into business for themselves, and they're going to try to make a very long-lasting synthetic skin, you know. And the movie takes a revenge turn as soon as DARKMAN realizes that Durant is still alive. The two square off, and although not as entertaining as the first film, this film does open up with a bang, with a drug deal gone bad with Durant's guys and a bunch of shootout, and it's pretty cool, pretty wicked, and it sets the tone. And at the end of this, there is a final conclusion. So in the third film, Durant will not be brought back. And I think one of the reasons that Larry Drake was like, hey, you know, I don't want to do this anymore is because right after this, or right before this, I think right after this, as a matter of fact, he got the star role for Dr. Giggles. And I think that thing catapulted him into a little bit of superstardom. I don't know what happened to him after these movies, so it'd be interesting to find out. Now, the special effects, I want to talk about them. The special effects are a step up in this movie, I think, because they restrained the budget, you know, and they only gave, you know, they only used the budget for a lot of special effects is what I was going to say. This movie never disappointed, and if you're a fan of the first film, you will like this film in the fact that, again, DARKMAN uses the faces of his enemies to get close, and it leads for some pretty cool confrontations, let me tell you. But in this film, there's a lot of carnage in this film, guys. There's shootings, there's people being pushed off of balconies, smashing their head. There is a golf cart that flies off a building that crushes somebody. A car gets blown up with a person, and all pretty much graphic, your standard action adventure fare. But nothing out of the ordinary for the 90s, and they don't make action movies like this anymore. But like I said, the one thing that I thought would bother me was Arnold Vosloo taking over the role as DARKMAN, and it really didn't bother me. He fits right in, and I think on some level he does the character better than you know, most. You know, they could have picked the worst guy to come in here, but no, he does pretty well, you guys. He does very good. Now, like I said, this thing came right at the heels, just came right off and, you know, went to VHS, which to me blows my mind. And to package it with Street Fighter, because the only people that were watching Street Fighter at that time were young teens. In fact, I remember my sister and my mother going to see Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme. They have no idea who Darkman is. So I don't know if the promo missed their audience. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have young kids that just know Street Fighter arcade games. They're not going to know Darkman. Darkman, again, is an R-rated superhero. Street Fighter is in the realm of PG-13 stuff. So it was kind of a weird marketing tactic, if you ask me. But in any case, another trivial fact about this movie was that I read that it was put on TV, broadcast TV. Okay, now mind you, you had to cut a lot of stuff out of an R-rated movie. Obviously, the cussing and some of the more graphic shots of violence for this to be put on TV. Or you would have where they censored over stuff, like if the guy said the F word, they would say fool, and the lips wouldn't match up. And I used to love making fun of that stuff when I was a kid. But the other thing is that this Blu-ray has the television cut of the film. And what they used to do, guys, is they used to put movies on TV, and they would allow time for commercials, but they'd also allow time for like an hour and a half movie would run now 2 hours. And that's with commercials. So what you do is you wouldn't even count the commercials, because commercials, if you ran them straight, would be like, what, 15, 20 minutes a clip? So what they did was they extended some scenes. You know, and a lot of big movies used to do that. Universal was notorious for pulling that with their movies. Jaws. There are scenes from the TV version of Jaws that are only going to be on the TV version of Jaws. Darkman 2 is no exception. Now, I haven't checked them all out because I really don't want to watch the TV version. But I'm pretty sure that they don't really add nothing. They're just cool to see. But it was interesting that they did do that. Now, you don't see that too much now, because nowadays, you know, people put in what they want, and if they're not happy, they make a director's cut, and then they put in whatever they want, and it's like maybe a half hour, 20 minutes longer than the original cut. Or some of the scenes have changed. You know, maybe Universal or these movie companies say, hey, shoot this scene this way. And they say, okay, and they shoot it an alternate way. And then bam, they have another scene. You know, just same scene, just different over, so it looks different. But, yeah, actually a fun ride. And it's like a roller coaster. But, you know, I do believe that when Liam Neeson passed on making this, that was Universal's decision to pretty much send the next one into, you know, straight to video. Now, the other thing is that when you watch the video commercial for this movie on video, on the Blu-ray, you know, first of all, you know, VHSs were extraordinarily high priced. I remember going into my video store, and I remember wanting to get the movie The Garbage Pail Kids. And I walked up to my man Steve, who used to run a place called Primetime Video, who I hold near and dear to my heart, because that's where I learned about all this cinema stuff. But I walked up to him and I said, hey, can I order the Garbage Pail Kids? He goes, yeah. He goes, I can get that in. That'll be $200. That's for VHS. And that was back in the early 90s. So around the time that this movie came out, I would imagine that VHSs were lowered to like 50. You know, I remember the most expensive one I bought right at the middle of the VHS run was the Titanic. It was a double disc or double tape thing. And it went for about $45. I bought it at FYE. But anyway, what they did is they had a promotion going on, and you can check it out for this movie. Is if you buy 4 copies of Darkman 2, you get a Darkman 2 sweatshirt. So that's like, say that the movies are $20. You know, VHSs are $20. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, $120, and you get a free sweatshirt. I get it, but I don't get it. Now, they also, in that commercial, they lowered the price for the original Darkman VHS to $15. So I guess they wanted to get interest. So again, if you wanted to get interest in this movie, for the sequel, why would you put the trailer on the Street Fighter or the Street Fighter VHS? It doesn't make any sense, because again, you're missing your audience. All that aside, I just thought that was interesting, and I wanted to gloss over that for a minute. But the Return of Durant is actually not so much a showcase for Darkman's new heroics. It's actually, you watch this movie because of Larry Drake's character, Robert G. Durant. That's why you watch it. That's why you're going to get it. And that's why it's the title of it. Because he's played such a memorable villain in the first one that you kind of want to see where he's going to go next. Now, the only quip that I have against this movie is that if you watch the first one, Durant died in a fiery helicopter crash. So there would be nothing left of his body, correct? I mean, his body would be disintegrated, burned beyond all recognition. It's movie magic. They threw that rule out the window, and it was almost the same as in 3 from Hell when they brought back the Firefly family after they had been shot to pieces by the, police force, the highway patrol, whatever. And it was almost like throwing your hands up and going, dude, I don't know, but let's just throw this against the wall, and whoever bites, bites. That's the only gripe I have from the film. But if you can throw that aside, it's a fun story to watch. And especially, you can't take these seriously. These are not the Avengers where there's a lot of emotion attached. These are just fun, stupid, revenge-filled superhero movies with a great villain, an interesting cast, and basically fun roller coaster rides to watch. Now, in the third one, they did bring Jeff Fahey into that. Well, Jeff Fahey, obviously, you guys, if you don't know, made one of the greatest horror films, I thought, and it scared the hell out of me in a movie called Body Parts. We'll have to check that out at some point. But, yeah. So, definitely check out Darkman 2. And, like I said, if you don't take it seriously, it's pretty fun. And if you, can substitute Arne Vosloo for Liam Neeson, you got yourself a hit. And, again, everybody that's supported me, thank you. Everybody that has commented on my last video, I appreciate that. I'm still I'm happy that we made a change, because I'm tired of being pushed around. And, sometimes in life you just have enough, and you got to say, look, your approach isn't for me. But I have gotten a lot of feedback on that, and I'm glad I put it out there. And I'm glad that if I saved anybody from having a doctor's experience like that, or a corporation experience, because sometimes, you get pushed around in an office and you talk to people and they don't listen, and then the next thing you know, you're calling general manager and they don't want to listen. You're calling the office manager, they don't want to listen. And sometimes you just got to take your business elsewhere, because you got to do what's best for you. On the flip side, if y'all haven't tried it, go check out eating at Dairy Queen. Me and my wife hit there Friday, and honestly, their food is pretty good. I had a A1 burger, and I just want to say that was probably one of the best things I ever tasted. And they got some good chicken strips, y'all. And I know that a lot of people just think Dairy Queen, ice cream. No, Dairy Queen, they got good food. Definitely check it out. Anyway, GW, thank you to all my fans. I hope you guys check out Darkman. I hope you guys have fun with it. And I hope you guys have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day. Tomorrow we're going to try to do Darkman 3. See how that ends up.